This is Dr. Robert Watkins, orthopedic spine surgeon to professional athletes and creator of the Back Doctor app.
All right, good evening. How you guys doing? We're live here in Marina Del Rey with my good friend Gary Vitti. I'm so honored he's here, Laker legend. And he came up the road to visit us tonight. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to take a little bit of an exception with the legend part. I don't see myself that way. But I will say that I work with a lot of legends. There's one right there.
You can, yeah. My dad's here too, and our audience, our one-man audience, he can pitch in too. Well, you are a legend for growing up in L.A. I can tell you, in the '80s, the time of the Lakers at the Forum in the '80s were so magical, and you were such an integral part of that. Anybody who grew up in L.A. knows that you were part of that team. And anybody who's in the healthcare business knows that keeping athletes healthy and helping them do their job. And the athletes know. I guarantee you, if we ask the athletes you took care of, are you a legend, they would agree you're a legend. So we're gonna stick that name on you, and you have to own it.
Well, it's not for me to say.
Yeah,
okay, that's the way But I thank you. I mean, it's very flattering. I mean, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just that type of person. I don't think that's a moniker you put on yourself.
Yeah, right. I hear you, and especially. Right. Trainers, I mean, you guys have such a thankless job overall. You're in one of the things my dad's given me a great appreciation for is your role where you're an employee for the team and yet you're the patient's advocate, and these people trust you with their lives and playing that role. And you got to do the interplay with the media too and everything else. The role that you have is so underappreciated, and at the same time, it's vital to how this team's going to work. And whether you have injuries or not is 50% determines how far you go in that year.
Yeah, the whole thing is very convoluted, and I talk about it. I wrote this book, and I have a chapter in the book that's called the quadcotomy. Of the NBA athletic trainer. And what that means is you have coaches, you have general managers, the president, the owner of the team, all these people, executives that are involved. Yeah. But most of them, in most of the facilities, their offices are on the second floor.
Right.
They come, my office was next to the locker room and the training room and the basketball court. So I'm in with the players.
Did you have an office to start, or you just want a locker right next to everybody else?
Originally, it was a very small office, and it was at the Forum because in those days we didn't have our own practice site. We were vagabonds. We had 2 bags of balls, 6 balls in each bag.
Right.
I had my trainer's bag, and one day we would be at Loyola Marymount, the next day Pauley Pavilion, maybe Inglewood Y, Inglewood High School.
What year was this?
I came in '84.
So that's '84, which is still Laker-Celtic battle, biggest thing on TV, biggest thing we all look forward to, and you guys were still traveling around to practice wherever you could get an empty gym.
That's correct. It wasn't only us. The whole NBA was set up that way.
Right.
But, what I was saying was that the GM and the coach, they would come down, coaches would come down for a couple of hours and then go back to where they came from.
Yeah.
And I was there all the time. And so I'm hearing things and seeing things.
Yeah.
And, I became sort of the conduit between the players and the GM and the players and the coach. And sometimes the GM and the coach.
Yeah.
You hope that the GM and the coach are on the same wavelength.
Right.
If they are, that makes life easier for the athletic trainer.
Right.
But if they're not,
you
might be getting pulled in different directions. The GM's talking about the coach is talking about the GM.
So you sound like your role is more somewhat family therapist?
It was all, I was like their father, mother, psychologist. I mean, I was everything.
Right.
And then you have players pulling you. So you have the GM in one direction, the head coach in the other direction, the players in the other direction.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of my career, the agents.
Yeah, right.
So when I came in, I knew I didn't even know him. I met one agent, Magic Johnson's agent.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know any agents.
Yeah.
By the end of my career, I knew everybody's agent.
Yeah.
They all had my number on speed dial.
Yeah.
If I walked a player off the floor during a game to the training room, before I got there, they were already calling my cell phone.
Right.
Okay? And so they're pulling you sometimes in a different direction. Not always. I mean, the agents could be very helpful if you have a player that's sort of, going off into left field, you need to reel them in.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a good relationship with the agent, you say, hey, listen, man, I need you to talk some sense into your guy.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of them were really good at that. Some weren't so good.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So you get
right.
pulled in different directions.
The personalities are amazing, isn't it? Just that in everybody, in every job, the general manager, the coach, the players, it's cool how someone's personality still affects their ability to do their job. And whether they're a hothead, whether they're even keel, whether they're motivated, these subtle things, they affect every level of every job and how these humans interact with each other for a whole season.
Yeah, and I think being able to kind of navigate those waters comes out basically in the success. I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
I had 13 head coaches over 32 years.
Right.
I have 8 rings.
Yeah.
There were 2.
Yeah.
So what was there about the other 11 guys?
Yeah.
You know, that all my rings came from these 2 guys.
Yeah.
And it's another point, like all these multiple different people and personalities.
Yeah.
When I came in with Riley, I'm a Riley disciple.
Yeah.
Okay? He had a philosophy that was called 12 plus 2 plus 1.
Yeah.
12 players.
Yeah.
2 coaches, him and Bertka.
Yeah.
And the athletic trainer, me.
Yeah.
We were the 15 people that were either on the bench, 10 of us on the bench, and 5 of us in the game.
Yeah, right.
We were the inner sanctum of the game.
Yeah.
And everyone else, he used the term, was a peripheral opponent.
Uh-huh.
Everyone.
Wow.
That included your family.
Wow. Right.
Anybody that
anybody
could,
to distract you in any way.
Anybody that could distract you. If you were getting ready for the game, and then you grabbed a ticket envelope and put tickets in it and was writing your wife's name on it to hand it to a ball boy to run up to will call, that was a distraction from your job. Your wife just became a peripheral opponent.
Right. That's awesome.
And I mean, it was that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's like the life of a surgeon. Believe me, it's like, man, somebody my cell phone's ringing in the middle of a surgery. Break that thing.
Yeah.
You know, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Throw it away. Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. Right.
It worked for us. I mean, he was a really really intense guy.
Yeah.
But it was okay for me anyway because so am I.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so I bought into it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, there was even a time where he did something, and everybody really thought he was paranoid crazy.
Yeah.
And his nickname went from Riles to Norman Bates.
Yeah.
Who was the character in Psycho, right?
Yeah, yeah. He was on the edge.
And the funny thing was, I started thinking, maybe I got some Norman Bates in me because I understand what he's trying to do.
Right.
You know, it makes sense to me.
Right.
But I really, when I look back with the years, the Showtime years, boy, that was really, you know, and going against the Celtics.
Oh, man.
It just, I don't know, it was the golden era.
It really was, wasn't it?
Really lucky to have been there.
Something about the form and the acoustics and the golden glow in the place and the whole bit. And Magic, you know, I think so much of the city and everybody attributes so much to Magic just because his spirit seemed to carry. No matter what the score was in any game, when Magic was on the court, we had a chance to win. You know, we knew he would do something to give us a chance to win that game. And I know it was everything. Yeah. You know, but
I mean, he had a great team behind him as well. But I mean, absolutely, you know, like for the younger people that maybe they don't quite understand.
Yeah.
So Magic came into the league in 79, 80. He was drafted in 1979.
Yeah.
Larry Bird came in at the same year.
Yeah.
And they had just played each other for the national championship, the NC2A championship.
Right.
Prior to that, the league was really fledgling. I mean, there was teams losing money.
Yeah.
You know, the NBA wasn't that good.
Right.
And these 2 guys, and as you know, it's like as if God willed it.
Yeah.
He put Magic on the Lakers.
Right.
Larry on the Celtics. The Lakers and the Celtics already had this huge rivalry.
Right.
Okay? And then the basketball gods put them together in 1984 and said, let's have them play against each other.
Yeah. Right. Okay?
And that really took on not just a Boston, L.A. thing, but it became a global thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people around the world identified either with Larry Bird,
right,
Celtics,
right,
or Magic Johnson, Lakers.
Right.
You know, and if you were a part of the Celtics or the Lakers, you just kind of got sucked into this vortex of excitement.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like the magic carpet ride of hoops. I mean, it was fabulous.
And it was such a great time in sports. I mean, these days, because of cell phones and Instagram, everybody knows each other. And even the athletes are more reasonable, where it's like, hey, man, we got a job to do. You know, we battle, but we're all on the same page. We're all employees of this league and trying. Back then, they didn't even really know each other, right? And I mean, they kind of, maybe in an all-star game occasionally, but it was, the fan bases and the teams were so insulated that we hated everything that had to do with the Celtics in Boston. Period.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is, you know, generally when you draft a player, you know, your audience may be interested in this, you're looking at probably about a 12-year investment.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that person's going to play for your team for 12 years.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at who you traded them for and this and that, it comes out to be about 12 years.
Yeah.
And we generally see players peak around 27, 28 years old.
Right.
In the old days, it wasn't uncommon for you to be drafted into a team and retire with that team.
Right.
Maybe the end of your career, you might have played 1 year here, 1 year there for the minimum. Right. You know, you grab a quick paycheck at the end of your career.
Yeah.
But you pretty much were identified with one team.
Right.
Now, they're all over the place.
Right.
Like, you don't even know which jersey to retire.
Right.
You know, Kobe was an enigma. He played for the Lakers for 20 years.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as a result, because there wasn't this intermingling of players, and you were on this team and that person was on that team, you kind of developed, it's a strong word, but I mean it in the sense of sports, but you kind of develop a hate.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I mean, there was
and it came out in the games.
Yeah. No,
I mean, you know, the clotheslines and everything else.
Yeah, and the game was different. I mean, it was a much more physical game back then. You can't touch anybody now.
Yeah, it's totally changed.
Kevin McHale clotheslined Kurt Rambis in the '84 finals.
That was like just a personal foul.
That's all.
It was like a 1+1.
That's it. Kurt went to the line, shot 2 free throws.
Right.
Today, that's a flagrant 2.
Yeah.
It's 2 shots plus the ball. He gets thrown out of the game and for sure suspended.
For sure, Let me ask you one thing about those early days in '84 and whatnot, because I remember you. I mean, you had a clipboard. What was your job other than being a trainer? Because right now there's like 6 assistant coaches there. So you had to be at least doing the timeouts, watching the shot clock. You know, like what other duties did you have?
So traditionally the athletic trainer keeps track of exactly what you said, fouls for both teams, okay, and timeouts, and rather than get into a long conversation about timeouts, there's your audience. You know, there's a strategy to the timeout situation. We have mandatory timeouts, okay, that are charged to either the home team or the visiting team at certain intervals, and then there's what I used to call TV timeouts. They call them official timeouts. But neither team gets charged with the timeout, but at a certain time in the game, there's a timeout, and then they cut to a commercial. Okay? So you have to keep track of these things, because if it looks like the team's, you know, coming apart, and your coach looks like he wants to call a timeout, stop the bleeding, but the next timeout is going to be charged to the other team. You just have to wait for a dead ball. Then it's up to me to make sure the coach knows that, and then he can make that decision. He might have to call the time. You've got to stop the bleeding. You've got to stop the, you got to stop the momentum. You know, but he needs that information to make that call. Also with you know, fouls. If you have a guy in foul trouble, then you got to let the coach know. You know, does he want to keep him in the game, or does he want to get him out of the game?
Being a head coach, there's 1,000 factors going on at once, and just having somebody tell him a couple cues. Hey, by the way, this and that, and
they you know, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they can hyper focus on things, and so if they're really paying attention to one thing, they may lose track of the clock a little bit.
Right.
Right. Leave a guy in the game too long.
Yeah.
Or not put somebody in the game
right.
because they're focusing on something else. And so it's good. The information that the athletic trainer delivers is different than what the first assistant delivers.
Yeah. Now, what about now? Is the trainer still doing all that, or is that all parceled out?
I think for the most part, the athletic trainers are still in charge of that. There's, the staff have become so big now.
Yeah.
Like I said, we were 12 plus 2 plus 1, 15 people.
Yeah.
Now there's at least 30 people in the team picture.
Yeah, right.
Right. You got 15 guys and you have 10 coaches.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, and then you have the sports science people and the analytic people. You have a full-time physical therapist. You have a full-time strength coach. I was all those things when I came in. I was a one-man show.
Right.
Travel, equipment,
right,
all the therapy, everything.
See, that's a true 24-hour-a-day job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about trainers is they work nonstop, 24 hours a day through the season. Season ends, they get half a day off, and then got to start planning for the next year.
Yeah, the training room. See now, like I told you earlier, we didn't have we didn't have any place to go. We didn't have a practice site. You can go to the forum. Nobody was there.
Right.
Now. They build a practice site. It was good and bad because now you had a facility, you had everything you needed to get your job done.
Yeah.
The downside of that is they expect you to be there.
Right. All the time.
All the time.
Right.
And so, it's even in the off season, it's open all the time.
Yeah.
There's always somebody manning.
Right. It is your job.
Room.
I mean, this is where you're supposed to go to work, right?
Yeah.
Where are you? Yeah.
Just because just to get another idea. So the season ends around mid-April, the regular season.
Right.
Then you go into the playoffs.
Right.
That's 2 months.
Right.
Also, what takes place during that time. So now you're into mid to late June.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, what's taking place during that time is the draft.
Right.
And so you're probably bringing in 80, 90 to 100 people, players, college players, that are entering the draft, and you're working them out, and you're testing them, and you're doing all this stuff. That's while you're doing your job with the team.
Right.
That's in addition to
right.
it. Okay. So even if you don't make the playoffs, you still have to do that.
Yeah.
Now the draft is generally around the last week of June.
Yeah.
And typically you fly your players in for Summer League on July 4th.
Yeah.
So there's a week, okay?
Right.
But you're not taking that week off because you're using that week to get ready for Summer League.
Yeah, right,
okay?
Right.
Which then goes through all of July.
Yeah.
So the only dead time there is in the NBA is the month of August.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? But you still have to have somebody in the training room.
Yeah.
And so
some people are still rehabbing from injuries, had surgery in the off season, trying to get ready to play.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things we want to cover that can be helpful to people out there about medicine and health. And I mean, we could talk about the stories of the Lakers forever. I'll kind of come back to because I want to know Phil Jackson and what his approach was unique, different than Pat Riley. In fact, let's do that now. Then I want to go over your player evaluation, evaluating 80 to 100 players. And development of players and youth and athletes to play a sport and having to evaluate them as to going on to their sport, I think is a great topic for trainers. Okay. Tell me about Phil Jackson, though. How was he different than Riles, and what made him unique as a coach to get those?
So what Riley had to do, Riley came from the broadcast booth.
Yeah.
Never coached a day in his life.
Right. Right.
And so he had to earn the respect of the Laker players.
Yeah.
Phil, on the other hand, had won 6 championships with the Bulls.
Right.
So he came in with the rings.
Right.
I mean, he had instant credibility.
Right.
So he didn't have to earn that respect. Okay?
Let me grab this. Sorry, go ahead.
He didn't have to earn that respect. He came in, and he already had it.
Right.
And he had a philosophy that, Riley was a real motivator.
Yeah.
He said the right things. He knew how to push your buttons. He figured out what made players tick.
Yeah.
Never embarrassed anybody.
Yeah.
He had a philosophy that for a criticism to be meaningful, you had to give 4 compliments.
Mm-hmm.
So he would tell you were doing something great all the time.
Right.
And this way, when he dropped the hammer,
right.
it meant something.
Right.
Phil didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
Okay. He just came in. We're going to do it this way.
Right.
And so, what Phil was really good at was we had a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Before Phil got there, we even had more talent.
Yeah.
Okay? He won with less talent.
Right.
But the way he was able to do it is that the team needed structure.
Yeah.
So he put in the triangle.
Yeah.
Where every pass meant something, every cut meant something.
Yeah.
Everybody felt like they were part of the game. There wasn't a lot of isolation and that kind of stuff. And he was good at that, creating structure and getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
He really made the players understand that the strength was with the pack.
Right.
And if somebody started going off, he would reel them back in.
Uh-huh.
And we had a great first 3 years.
Yeah.
And then we imploded.
Right.
And then he came back and
had another great run.
Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting because the sport of the NBA, I think at that time when Phil came to the Lakers, the NBA had gotten so big, like we were talking about that development of the NBA. Well, by then it had gotten so big in the individual players. I mean, remember there were guys who were getting $100 million contracts who were almost B type of players, right? The contracts, and so everybody had their own individual identity at that time, and they were almost bigger than the game, bigger than the coach, bigger than the team. Where in some ways it makes sense that Phil's genius was saying, "Okay, put your ego, put yourself aside. We're going to run this triangle offense and be a team." And ultimately, if they buy in, it works.
Yeah, I write this in the book that they paid Phil $12 million a year.
Yeah, right.
Now, when you're paying a coach $12 million a year, everybody on the team knows who's wearing the daddy pants.
Right.
Because if things were going south, you could always get rid of the coach.
Yeah.
You didn't want to get rid of the player.
Right.
But when you're paying the coach $12 million a year, it's a little bit more difficult to get rid of him because you owe him $12 million a year.
Right.
And he's got a 5-year deal.
Right.
So it's $60 million.
Right.
Okay. And so when you pay a guy like that, then he has juice with the players.
Right.
The players know, hey, they're not going to fire this guy. They're going to get rid of me.
Yeah.
So I need to get in, because to win the championship, several things have to happen, including luck. But you have to be on a mission.
Yeah.
There has to be a mission.
Yeah.
And everybody has to buy into it.
Yeah.
And you all have to be going in the same direction.
Yeah.
I learned very early in my career, being trained by Riley, that I was paid to render an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if my superiors disagreed and wanted to do it differently, I felt it was my job then to prove that I was wrong and that they were right. Because we had to, if they decide this is the way we're going to do it, you got to do it. You got to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And for a while, Phil was able to do that, but then we had the two personalities.
Yeah.
Okay, because those two guys, they both wanted to lead, but they didn't really know how to lead.
Right.
And so when you don't have a player that's a leader, then the head coach has to be the leader.
Right.
And that's really, really hard on a coach.
Right.
It's always better to have a player or players that are leaders, and it's really helpful if your leader is the best player and he's a good guy.
Right.
That's really helpful. Okay.
I.e. Magic.
Right.
Right.
And so Phil came in as the leader, and then he tried to pass the baton, but both those guys wanted it, and they were two completely diametrically opposite people and how they approached the game. But I also write in the book, and I know I keep plugging the book.
Yeah, no, please.
Okay?
Please, I mean, I can't wait to read it, and I encourage everybody else to. We're going to put a link in the comments for the book. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's easy to blame.
Yeah.
Very easy to blame.
Yeah.
Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah, right.
you can blame one or the other, or you can blame both of them.
Right.
It's easy to do that. What about the rest of us?
Right. Right.
Okay? You know, we're a team.
Right.
Okay? You know, I think looking back, I could have done better.
Yeah. Right.
You know, we had a head coach. We had Laker management.
Yeah.
You know, where was everybody? How come we didn't have an intervention? How come we couldn't reel them in?
You're right.
You know, and try to make it work. They ended up being pitted one against the other. And when that happens, people pick sides.
Yeah, right.
The fans pick sides.
Right.
Players pick sides.
Yeah.
Staff pick sides.
Yeah.
And it becomes divisive. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And I look back on it now, and I don't, you know, I mean, I wasn't the head coach. I wasn't the GM. I wasn't the president.
Right.
But I had a role.
Yeah, sure.
I think I could have done better.
You had a lot of street cred on that team. You'd been there the longest.
I think I could have done better.
Right.
I think I could have done better trying to somehow find a way. You know, I mean, they were both.
Those big personalities.
Both, and you know, I talk about this thing that I call the window panes of truth.
Yeah.
And so, I want you to picture a window pane.
Yeah.
And in that pane, I want you to put how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And then in pane 2,
I
want you to put how you think other people see you.
Right.
And then in pane 3, I want you to put how other people really see you.
Yeah, right.
And in pane 4, I want you to put how you really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if all those 4 things, things could be, think of the permutations of those 4 different things.
Right,
okay?
exactly.
But they also could all be the same.
Right. If they're united, you're unstoppable.
All right?
Right.
If all those things are the same, then you are very true to yourself.
Yeah.
And if you want people to follow you,
yeah.
they need to know the true you. And for them to know the true you, you need to know your true self.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. These 2 cats were true to themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
There wasn't any. I mean,
they knew who they were.
Shaq was, and he was going to be, and Kobe was going to be Kobe.
Right.
You know, but somehow, you know, well, look at it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we imploded, we also won 3 in a row.
Oh yeah, right.
So
Karl Malone tearing his meniscus, right?
He actually tore his MCL.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, medial collateral.
I mean, that was a legit shot to win. Was that about the 4th?
That was that would have been the 4th.
Yeah,
that would have been the 4th championship.
Right. Yeah. And it was 1 injury away from. I think it was a year off, and then.
You're right. It was
short
because
season.
We had to reload. Yes.
Yes,
you're right.
Phil never gave the Spurs credit for that one because it was a shortened season. And
That's correct.
Then reloaded Gary Payton.
Yeah, that was the lockout.
The lockout.
Spurs won,
right.
And we were exhausted mentally, physically, and then, you know, I talk about the 2004 thing a lot, and I personally blamed Shaq for that, and I was wrong.
Yeah,
looking back, I shouldn't have.
Yeah,
it was all of us.
Yeah, that's obviously very wise. There's so many components, personalities, and Shaq. I mean, he was a man. He dominated that position like no one ever had. Let me ask you a question about Kobe because and it relates to injuries. We'll talk a bit about health. I mean, Kobe is such a phenomenon. Obviously, I refer to him all the time as far as the Kobe factor. You know, we get kids, 18, 19, 17-year-old kids, and their parents think they're the next greatest golfer, gymnast, whatever in the world, and how important the sport is. And, you know, I tell people all the time, well, you know, the part of the discriminating factor as to who becomes a college athlete, a pro athlete, whatever, half of it is injuries. And so just recognize that right now. You know, not everybody's a Kobe Bryant who has an injury and just powers through it and can do amazing things. And him tearing his Achilles tendon and then still getting up and shooting 2 free throws. You know, I mean, are you that? You know, I like to look at kids. You think you got that in you? You know, and to that degree, what do you think, as far as your job as the trainer, was to prevent people from themselves, help protect them from themselves? Like a guy like Kobe, who's so driven, is going to do it. At what point do you need to step in and say, "Whoa, like we need to"? Help you versus, I guess, the flip side is obviously motivating somebody, and maybe talk a bit about that and people's injuries. And
I mean, Kobe was an enigma.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is that person that sometimes you had to try to protect him from himself.
Yeah.
Usually that's not the case. Players, they tell you I don't want to play.
Right.
Okay. Which is the flip side. Where,
right.
Listen, I know you're not 100%.
Yeah.
So what are you?
Yeah.
Generally in the NBA, we would like to get a player on the floor if he's about 90% healthy. We figure that the 10% risk factor of re-injury is acceptable.
Right.
Okay?
Right. So it's still their job. It's
still
like what we're all here for.
Yeah. And obviously we know that if you can get hurt when you're healthy, you can certainly get hurt if you're not 100%.
Right.
Okay, we know that.
Right.
But it's a calculated risk.
Yeah.
We can extend that to 85%. Okay, so you're at a 15% deficit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that would be under more pressing circumstances, playoff game, the finals, something like that. If it's game 7, you got to go.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
One quick tangent about Kobe shooting the free throws. Yeah. So it was obvious that he had ruptured his Achilles tendon. Yeah. It was obvious to me that he wasn't going to play.
Right.
Do you know has anyone ever told you what he did?
No.
When I went out there?
No. No.
He told me, I said, you feel like somebody kicked you and you turned around, nobody was there? And he said, yeah. And I go, that's a telltale sign.
Yeah.
And so I would reach down and kind of squeeze a little bit right in that mid-substance.
Yeah.
And, he felt it. And he said, well, I tried to pull it down.
Yeah.
It's got a ruptured Achilles tendon. He tried to grab it and put it down.
Right.
I know he's going to
like a safety pin and just plug this thing down.
Okay. And I said, well, that's not going to work. You're done, man. You can't. And he goes, well, can't we go back and you tape it, and fix it? And I said, no.
Yeah.
You're done. I said, but what is going to happen is you were fouled.
Yeah.
And somebody has to shoot those free throws.
Yeah.
So if you don't shoot them, the Golden State Warriors are going to pick the worst free throw shooter on our bench to shoot those free throws. Right. So I'm going to allow you to shoot the free throws if you want to do it.
Yeah, really.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell their coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell the official that make or miss, we're going to foul.
Yeah.
For a dead ball.
Right.
Then we're going to call timeout. We're going to pull you out of the game. So he's not going to move other than he's going to walk from the bench. He walked from their bench to our bench.
Yeah.
And then back to their free throw line.
Yeah.
Made the 2 free throws.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson came to me later and apologized.
Yeah.
He said, I should have called the timeout for you guys. Being like a good sport.
Right.
It didn't occur to him to do it. But
that's incredible, obviously, that to have your presence of mind shows how much experience you had in the league, to know the rules and to be able to step back and say, all right, this is reasonable. You got a torn Achilles, but you can walk on it. You can stand there and shoot a free throw. You're not going to do more damage. The thing's already torn.
Yeah, you're not going to rupture the other one.
So, I guarantee you, because if I was working that job, I would have carted him off and screamed and yelled. That's awesome.
I think part of it was a dig to Paul Pierce.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because when we lost to the Celtics in 2008, Pierce went down, and he's rolling around, writhing in pain, and they take him off on a wheelchair, and they bring him in the back, and I always hated taking a player off on a gurney or a wheelchair. I think it sends a bad vibe to everybody. If you can walk off on your own power, or 2 players, one on each side, let's get you off the floor. And then we'll do what we have to do back there out of sight of the entire world. So, he goes through the whole rigmarole out there, and then he comes back out and lights us up.
Right, yeah, exactly.
What I mean? And so, Kobe's like, you went off on a wheelchair falling down. I ruptured my Achilles tendon. I had 2 free throws, and I walked off on my own power.
And every time he sees Paul Pierce, they both know that. That's awesome.
So going back to where you wanted to go with this about evaluating and looking at young players and that sort of thing, and how do we do it?
Right.
Okay? So sometime around the 80s, Vladimir Janda was a Czechoslovakian MD. He started looking at the body in a different way, and he came up with these 3 postural distortion patterns.
Yeah.
And we relied heavily on that to evaluate for a while. And it's subjective. You look at somebody and you say, okay, you got this.
Right.
And then about 10 years later, a physical therapist by the name of Gray Cook, he came up with another method that was more functional.
Yeah.
He put you through 7 functional movement patterns, like a lunge and a squat and these things.
Right.
And once again, you looked at the athlete and what do they have to do to get into that position. If you got into the overhead squat, did your feet turn out? Did you have to lean forward? Because, you squat down and then you hold it.
Yeah.
Right? And then if you couldn't do those, if you couldn't do those patterns, then you went into a separate movement screening pattern that he created.
Right.
And so there were 7 patterns, and you can get a maximum of 3 points for each movement. So you get a total score of 21.
Yeah.
It's a perfect score.
Right.
The NFL longitudinal studies were telling us that anybody that had a score of 14 or below was going to get hurt.
Yeah, wow. They really had that data.
Yeah, they had that data. And so we kind of went with that for a while.
Yeah.
Then, more recently, another physical therapist by the name of Mike Clark created the Fusionetics platform.
Yeah.
And it took, now we started working into technology a little bit more.
Yeah.
We putting people through similar functional movement patterns, weight-bearing patterns, that you would see in sports, and then scoring them.
Yeah.
And then depending on the score and what you answered yes or no to, the platform, the computer program, would spit out all the corrective exercises.
Yeah.
Now we've advanced to high-speed sensors and wireless sensors and high-speed cameras.
Yeah, right.
And now, for instance, if you go, one of the worst things you can do in sports is to go into valgus, meaning your knee turns. I know you know this, but meaning your knee kind of turns in, especially on landing.
Right.
Like if you look at Klay Thompson's ACL injury, as soon as I saw it, I knew he ruptured his ACL.
Right.
Because he went straight into valgus, and he didn't have, the core and hip control for that.
Right.
So we can put you through some movement patterns, and not only know it's not just valgus or varus, but all these different, postural dysfunctional movements.
Yeah.
We not only know that you're dysfunctional, we can tell you how many degrees of dysfunction you have.
Right.
We have, before, if we wanted force plate technology, we'd have to go into basically a laboratory setting.
Yeah.
Now we can put wireless sensors on you, and we can get ground reaction force measured in newtons. Okay,
do you do that in practice, or is it more drills? I mean, do you actually have anybody? And another question to that is, when they're practicing or in a game, I know with the Dodgers, they've got cameras where they're recording every pitch and everything real time in the game. Is that happening in the game, or is it more in the practice facility?
Okay, you can only use wearables in practice.
Right.
Okay, we can't use them in the game yet.
Right.
Yet.
Right.
Let me finish this.
Okay.
Sorry. So we not only can tell you where you are, in terms of postural dysfunction, but exactly how many degrees.
Yeah.
We can tell you how long your right foot is on the ground versus your left foot in milliseconds.
Right.
And we can do all this in practices, but we can't use the wearables in a game.
Right.
But what we do have in the game are 6 cameras in the sky. We have an eye in the sky.
Yeah.
They shoot 25 frames a second, and they recognize all 13 people on the court.
Yeah.
5 players on each team and the 3 officials.
Yeah. Huh.
And so they're there mostly for basketball analytics.
Right.
But we can extrapolate sports medicine information from them.
Cool.
For instance, when I was there, we were looking at the number of accelerations and decelerations for each player.
Yeah.
We could pick that up on the camera.
Yeah.
As a result of those 2 things, we can then figure out what the average speed that player ran during that contest.
Yeah.
We multiply his average speed by his body weight.
Yeah.
We multiply that number by the distance that he ran, and then that was the load on that individual for that game.
Yeah.
Then we divide that number in and of itself to look at is very important.
Yeah.
But now we'll make it even more significant because we'll divide that number by the minutes that they played.
Right.
And that gives us a second number that we call intensity.
Right.
And so what we're looking for as athletic trainers is as load goes up, we wanted intensity to go up with it. And if it's not, then we got to figure out why. And you create like a stoplight, green, yellow, red. If that person, if you're getting that direct linear relationship, then they're in a green zone. We can push them in games, push them in training, push them in practice.
Right, cool.
If the intensity's flattening, we got to figure out why.
Especially if they're coming back from an injury, huh? Like that's the one way you can gradually reintroduce them?
Yes, trying to determine load.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things was that when we really looked at the permutations of those three variables, to 94%, the most important variable was distance. So if you only looked at the distance that a player ran at practice or a game, and then that would be the external load on that individual.
Right.
Okay, external load.
Yeah.
Then there's something else we call internal load.
Yeah.
The internal load is the psychological reaction to the external load and all the other stuff that's going on in his life.
Yeah, right.
Okay? And the way you get to that number is you take what's called an RPE scale, a rated perception of exertion, scale of 0 to 10. You ask him how he is every day. And, when we built the new facility, I put a tablet in everybody's locker, and they could answer this questionnaire as soon as they get there. And it goes right into the data bank.
Right.
And then over time, longitudinally, what we can do is we can figure out an average of the load over 7 days that we call the acute load.
Yeah.
And then we continue that over 28 days.
Yeah.
We call that the chronic load.
Yeah.
And most of this research comes out of Australia, but what we've learned is that there's an acute to chronic workload ratio.
Right.
And if any single day or 7-day workload is greater than the 28-day load, you're going to get hurt.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
there's a kind of doing too much and not enough load.
Right.
Okay? And there's a sweet spot in between, and that's how you figure it out.
And how much can you use that as a mild diversion for motivation? As far as, can you say, look, you're not working that hard.
Yeah.
You've dropped off. Are you hurt? Or are you not sleeping well? Or is your relationship not going well? Or what's the deal? Can you use it for feedback for the players to say, hey?
Yeah, the objective stuff for sure. Okay. Now some of these guys are just smart enough to know that if I tell you I'm exhausted on my RPE scale, then you're going to give me some time while
they mess with the data. They affect the data.
It's good input. All right, you got to have good input to get good output.
Right.
But there are ways that today. That we can look at. Awesome. We were, much better today than we were, years ago. And you mentioned earlier about injuries and healing. Yeah. And like that number, that 6-week number, always comes up.
Right.
We know that tissue healing generally is about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Which means we can now look under diagnostic ultrasound or MRI, and we can see that all the fibers have come together, and it looks like you're healed.
Yeah.
But the 6-week thing is the healing phase, but then there's a remodeling phase that follows that.
Right.
And this is the load that I'm talking about. Yeah. And so, I know you know this, so we're talking to them, but I'm looking at you.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Yeah, we can always look at the camera right here. That's them out there.
So, so what we're talking about during this remodeling phase is that, the tissue has been healed, but can it handle the load that we're trying to put on you to compete at this level?
Yeah.
And if the load is not enough, then the tissue is not going to be able to remodel to handle the load. If the load is too much, then the tissue is going to go through some sort of metabolic change, and it's going to become inflamed.
You don't want that. That's almost irreversible.
Itis on the end of a word means
inflammation.
Trust me, you don't want to get
tendinitis, like tonsillitis,
because it's very painful. And we had a very good result with Pau Gasol with the fast technique. But trust me, you do not want to have to do this. So you want to get into this sweet spot of load where the tissue is remodeling and in a way that it can handle the loads that we put upon you.
Right.
Okay? If it's not enough, you're going to be too weak. If it's too much, it's going to be inflamed.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. The body needs to be stimulated and loading to heal properly, and you got to get that sweet spot of the balance. What about one thing I want to mention for people who have kids out there who are into sports and everything? What any tips for them? The kid who is the 15-year-old star going to be great as far as doing the same sport all the time, these abnormal movement patterns that develop versus cross-training. Do you have just a quick guideline as to what you recommend for even people who are great basketball players? You got a kid who's 15 years old, amazing basketball player. What else can they do to diversify to not get these abnormal patterns that then lead to injuries?
Yeah. So I was telling Dr. Watkins earlier that towards the end of my career, by the time we were getting guys in the NBA, their bodies were already dysfunctional in terms of movement efficiency. And it's because it's too much too early in these young kids' lives. So when I was a kid, we played football, baseball, and basketball. That's what we did.
Yeah.
As a result of playing football, baseball, and basketball, we were cross-training. We didn't know we were cross-training. The term didn't exist, but that's what was happening. Now when you yank a kid out of all the other sports and channel them into one sport, and I don't care what it is, and you do repetitive motion over and over and over and over again, you're going to create a compensation, and the compensation is going to create a dysfunction. Yeah. And what I mean by that is certain muscle groups are going to get really, really tight, and as a result, that's going to shut off neural drive to other muscle groups that are prone to weakness. And you're going to get into these distortional movement patterns that reduce performance and increase risk of injury. And so by the time we get them, it's almost impossible to get them completely out of these patterns. We use myofascial release and stretching and activation of the weak muscle groups to try to get them into a more neutral posture so they have better movement efficiency. But when they fatigue, the first thing that happens is they go back into that default movement pattern, which puts them at risk. So the idea is if you're going to channel your child into a sport, one sport, then I strongly suggest that you get with a good physical therapist and or a good certified athletic trainer that understands movement efficiency, postural distortion patterns, and does things to counter the dysfunction that is being created by playing and practicing the sport to the degree that it's being played today.
Yeah. So be aware of it. You still train it, and that's the great thing about life and health and sports in general is we learn new things. We go so hardcore one way, then we go, oh, well, we just created a whole other set of issues.
That's correct.
Now let's swing back the other way and modify it.
Yeah.
And it's a constant learning process. But the technology is what you mentioned. I mean, in your career, the advancement of medicine and technology and what we learned, I mean, you saw just revolutionary changes from basically nothing to full computer-guided monitoring and
eyeballs.
Yeah, right.
We had
eyeballs. Yeah, exactly. And now we're going back to eyeballs a little bit. Those actually work decently well if you know what you're doing.
Well, there's places that you can go that have high-speed camera setups and high-speed wireless sensors that can bring your child through an evaluation, and they're not really very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, depends on where you go, where you live.
Have you seen any cool apps? I've checked out a couple apps. Our app, I'll put a plug for our Back Doctor app, which has the whole program on it, and we were looking at potentially putting some sensors to monitor core position. And they're getting close. Have you seen any apps specifically that you think are relevant?
Well, actually, the Mike Clark Fusionetics.
Yeah,
okay?
that's an app.
He's working on stuff where you can just use your telephone.
Yeah.
Okay, and the camera on your telephone.
Yeah.
And they'll put it into a computer program and spit out all the corrective exercises for you.
Cool.
It's really kind of neat. And there's some other ones out there too. If you search them out, you'll find this kind of stuff.
I'm going to ask you one other quick question about stem cell, new biologic injections. You got a quick summary of your experience and what you saw and what you think actually makes some sense?
Yeah. I mean, this was one of the most exciting areas that we thought was going to be it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And my feeling is that we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that forget about it. I'm just saying that it's not there yet.
Yeah.
Right. The PRP looked really, really promising, and then it sort of didn't look so promising. And then the stem cells looked promising, but they were putting the stem cells with the PRP. So now, was it the stem cells, or was it the PRP, or was it the combination of both of them?
Yeah.
And then, we got this guy, Dr. Whaling in Germany, that created this, orthokine.
Yeah.
And, to me, this makes some sense where interleukin is sort of the inflammatory thing.
Yeah.
And he would draw your blood and spin it down in a centrifuge and make a serum.
Yeah.
And then take the antagonist of the interleukin and then inject that.
Right.
In theory.
Right.
Okay. In theory, I mean,
makes
logic.
Sense.
It makes sense.
Right.
Okay. Now, in reality, I had several players.
Yeah.
And some it helped.
Yeah.
And some it didn't.
Right.
And it's kind of like that I think in life. Almost everything that we do in physical therapy and athletic training and in medicine, some of it works for some people and some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Now, where does the placebo effect fit in? I know you coined it at 30%.
Right.
Okay.
Right. That's a pretty big number, which, if you take a professional athlete who's having a 5 out of 10 pain and you get him 30% pain relief, so now he's down to a 3 or she down to a 3, well, that's good enough. It may be worth doing because they can play a little bit better.
How
much does it cost?
Okay.
Well, how much is it worth to normal people?
How about you do something to a guy and he goes out and scores 30 points?
Yeah, right.
Now he wants it every day.
How much is that worth? Yeah.
Then he goes out and he has a horrible game.
Right.
And he goes, I never want that again.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well,
done.
Yeah, so it's, here's my advice.
Yeah.
I always ask myself 3 things. What am I trying to do? Why am I doing it? And how am I doing it?
Yeah.
And if you sort of set that up, then it's not always going to work, but it gives you sort of some boundaries and reasons for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially if it doesn't work.
Right.
Okay? Because when people start questioning you, you have answers. And you say, listen, here's what I did, here's why I did it, here's how I did it. I thought it was going to work. It didn't work. It worked for this guy, it didn't work for this guy.
Right.
But at least it gives you some confidence in what you're doing. If you have confidence in what you're doing, there's generally a transference to the athlete. If he trusts you, that he feels confident about it. Maybe that's where the placebo effect comes.
Sure.
If
powerful.
Dr. Watkins says that we got to do it this way, then that's the way to do it. It works.
Right. Especially if I say, I did it on me. It worked on me. Let's do it on you. I want to say 2 other things real quick. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Joe. We went to all these Laker games growing up. We started the rhythm clap. I don't know if you knew, we started the whole crowd doing a rhythm clap. The bench at some point started doing a rhythm clap on the introduction for the players. My buddy and Joe started that. I told
You're
Joe.
Claim the Laker
I'm claiming the rhythm clap. Joe and we start I told Joe I'd ignite. Number 2 for you is Dwight Howard coming back to the Lakers. And what's your prediction? I personally think he's going to have a kick-ass year and be great this year. What do you think?
Well, he doesn't have much choice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of painted himself in a corner. Yeah. Dwight was not a bad guy.
Yeah.
He was in a bad situation with us.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we got him here coming off of a surgery, and he had never really experienced anything like that before.
He was invincible before.
Yeah, and, he thought he was Superman, and he found out he wasn't.
Right.
And that's always a very scary thing. If you have a player that is that far into their career. Yeah. Happened to Karl Malone.
Yeah.
When Karl had his MCL.
He was invincible before that.
But psychologically, he completely, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, to some extent, Dwight experienced this, and we brought him. You did the surgery. Yeah. Judy Cito did the physical therapy. Yeah. She doesn't need to be defended. She's one of the greatest physical therapists around. Yeah. He looked really good. Yeah. The thing is that, especially in professional sports, the last part of the rehab process is actually playing in a game. Yeah. It's not practice. It's not drills. We can do that all we want. It's never going to be the same as a game. Yeah. There's no way, and I know this is hard for you to understand. Yeah. Like you say, oh, well, you could bring officials in and scrimmage and this and that. It's not the same. Yeah. We cannot reproduce the strength, speed, and power of a real NBA game. Yeah. And so going back to what I was saying about this remodeling phase and the loads, okay? Yeah. So if you want to, return to play basketball from an injury or surgery, you have to play basketball. Yeah. You have to load in that way because we cannot reproduce that load. No matter what we do, we can't. Okay? So, he had never experienced something like that. Some players do better than others in return to play. Yeah. And that's what it's called, return to play. So, you have an acute phase and a chronic phase. Yeah. And then you reach this point where the physical therapist hands the athlete off to the athletic trainers, the coaches, the strength and conditioning people. Right. And then there's this period that we call return to play. Yeah. And it's as much psychological as it is physical. Yeah. And, there's certain things that have to be done, and they have to be done in certain ways and in certain patterns. Yeah. And there's a fear that's associated with it. Yeah. And some guys do, like Kobe. I mean,
he just in.
Kobe. Kobe. He just took the words "can't" and "won't" out of his lexicon. Those things didn't exist. Yeah. Okay? But not everybody's like that. Right. And
some of us are a little more rational and thinking, hey, things could go wrong.
Right. and so Dwight, struggled a bit, and maybe we could have helped him along a little bit more, saying, give him a break. He's still coming back.
He still had back surgery. He's coming back with back surgery.
But like fans think once the guy's on the floor, he's 100%. Well, he's not. Right. I mean. Right. And he's not going to be 100%. He's got to get to 100% by being on the floor. Yeah. Okay? And so that's where he was. And just about the time that he was actually getting there, then he tore his labrum. Yeah. Right. And then here we go again. Okay?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, we hope the team carries on without you. And for the sake of the city, this city needs one more sports team. Like we don't have enough. But the Lakers have always been dear to the city, and I'm sure it's been a magical part to be still part of the organization and everything you contribute to the city. And my memories of growing up and being a Laker fan, I thank you behalf on Joe, my buddy Joe, and everybody I know, because it was a wonderful time. And everything you contributed to the sport from a healthcare perspective, from all the players that you took care of through the years, it's been a great legacy that
had a good run.
Yeah,
had a good run. I'm retired now.
And what are you doing?
Well, I wrote the book, so I ticked that thing off. There's a whole bunch of stuff my wife had a list of to do and things around the house. And probably most importantly, I just became grandfather.
Yeah, awesome.
So it doesn't get any better than that. But, my Laker days are over. I don't go to games. I don't even really watch very much.
Yeah, really.
But I wish them well. And I've spent more than half of my life there.
Yeah, no doubt.
It was like the name of the book, 32 years of titles and tears for the best seat in the house.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
That's amazing. A great experience. Yeah. Well, thanks, Gary. I really appreciate you coming, man. That was great. We'll have you back again.
Okay.
And check out the link for his book. Get his book. It's on Amazon. And I appreciate you guys coming. If you have any comments, put them down, and Gary and I will both answer them. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.